So, if your house is dirty and disorganized, can you find anything? It's a little hard. You've got to search, you've got to try to remember, where did I put my cell phone? Where did I put my socks and shoes? Well, it's kind of disorderly and messy, so it's troublesome to find what you're looking for. It's the same way with vocabulary. If you have no helpful organization, it's hard to remember. So the teacher can help the student by creating a little bit of organization. Today, we're going to study posture, gesture, self-image, and attitude. Those words are related. Hopefully you can remember those words. We're also going to study some words to describe bad behavior, or bad posture, bad attitude, bad gestures. Do you know any offensive gestures? Who has an unpleasant attitude? And what's a shameless posture? So those are some ways to talk about impolite behavior. We're going to go over those 8 words today, and they all have a relationship, so you can easily remember them. Posture, gesture, self-image, and attitude, offensive, impolite, unpleasant, and shameless. That is our target language for today. How is this lesson going to work? Let me describe it. We're going to start with a game at the same time that I do the listening exercise. How do you play the game? First, go read an article about gestures around the world. You'll see some good gestures and some bad gestures, as well as some misunderstood gestures. After you read the article and you understand the different gestures, we will then have a little activity where you identify each group of gestures. You will see group 1 gesture, group 2 gesture, gesture group 3. Go ahead and label them in the comments or talk with me during our one-to-one class. At the same time, I'll be doing a listening exercise. I'll be talking. You can find the listening exercise in the reading section. You can go find that. It's in the description box. Finally, after the game and after the listening exercise, I'll tell a little story about North Korea and an offensive gesture. It was misunderstood at the time, but it makes for a very interesting piece of history. So, first we have a game, and then we have a story. I hope you enjoy. When I first started traveling the world, I was very careful with my gestures. What I didn't want was to seem impolite or ungrateful by making a small mistake. Or even worse, seeming offensive with my foreign behavior. My posture would express calm confidence, and this would carry me through any culture I encountered. However, my American self-image, my concept of calm confidence, put my hands in my pockets. It's not a gesture, right? It's preventing any gesture. I didn't realize that hiding my hands would project a shameless attitude. I know better now, and I keep my hands out of my pockets. Now let's turn to North Korea. We all know that this is an aggressive little nation that wants to build the nuclear bomb. Well, why? It's because they consider the United States to be an existential threat. You can see by these photos, these propaganda posters from North Korea, that United States is the opponent, the adversary. So how exciting when some North Korean military Navy ships ventured outside of their waters and captured a United States intelligence ship. This happened in 1968, and the USS Pueblo was captured by the North Koreans. This was a big deal at the time. It was all over the news, and it was very disappointing for the United States. North Korea turned it into a propaganda experience, of course, and they took pictures of the United States soldiers and published them all over the world. But let's look at these pictures. What are these men doing? Can you see the offensive gesture? It's right there. Now I got to stop the pictures for a second and give a little bit of a background story. What happened was the men were being beaten. These United States soldiers were experiencing, torture. It was North Korea. Are you surprised? You're not surprised. But one day, the United States soldiers were taken into a briefing room. It was kind of a classroom. They were being educated. And so they were watching a video of how great North Korea is. It's propaganda. Well, what happened is in the video, an English gentleman came up to the camera and flipped the camera off. Right there. The birdie finger. And the United States prisoners realized that North Koreans didn't know what the middle finger meant. I'm not going to do the offensive gesture now because you can see it in the photos. The guys started to do it all the time, and they called it the Hawaiian good luck sign so that the North Koreans wouldn't know what it meant. Well, over time, these photos found their way into the United States newspapers, and it was common knowledge that the United States, this is an offensive gesture, and it was very exciting. Well, that's not a common piece of history. As you can see, when we tell the story in our history books, this Hawaiian good luck sign isn't famous. But it happened. And it was all part of a propaganda game. And even today, we are playing this propaganda game with North Korea. This is a Spanish gentleman who supports North Korea and their communist country. And the United States is still a little gun-shy and nervous about offensive media and offensive gestures. And that USS Pueblo, it's now a museum in North Korea. It's part of a propaganda apparatus that helps keep peace and maintain the proper attitude in North Korea. But we should be careful too, because in the United States, we have propaganda. And if you don't know it, just watch the news. Anyway, I hope this wasn't too offensive, and I hope you found the gesture